get why he keeps attacking us.
Yeah.
And
he could just not mention you, but he insists on throwing you under the bus every chance he gets.
Which is an establishment move.
Yeah.
That's an establishment move.
Yeah.
He's actually, when I was in prison, he done more to attack me and discredit me being able to get out than anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, it is now impossible to avoid the conclusion that Reform UK and Nigel Farage are purposefully out to persecute supporters of Tommy Robinson, which I believe is going to result in a devastating split on the right in the years to come. And that split will be disastrous for the movement to save our floundering United Kingdom. Now, while I acknowledge Reform is surging in the polls, absolutely surging. I mean, there's hardly a choice, is there, with the evil Slippery Starmer versus the incompetent Kemi Badenoch. I also know that the Overton window is very much shifting on the UK's political prisoner. At the next Uniting the Kingdom rally, which is going to see the likes of Jordan Peterson team up with Katie Hopkins, I think Reform UK will see the mistake in labelling millions of ordinary patriotic Brits as extremists who deserve to be cancelled. I mean, just remember that in recent months, Ant Middleton, Douglas Carswell, and of course Elon Musk have all spoken out publicly in support of this man. But Reform's deranged campaign, no doubt led by Zia Youssef, who, by the way, let me tell you, he is still running the show at Reform UK, despite quitting as chairman, claiming getting Reform elected was a waste of his time, and he shows no sign of abating. This, though, is the most extraordinary example, and I am furious about it. I have to speak out about it. So Reform UK called for the sacking of a Labour councillor who resigned over his apparent support for Tommy Robinson. Nigel Farage's party accused Ben Westwick, who sits on Basildon Council in Essex, of posting tweets in support of the far-right activist. This is the Daily Telegraph reporting more than a decade ago. He has now been suspended by the leader of the council, but remains as an independent member. But this is what the spokesman for the Reform UK party said. They called for Mr. Westwick's immediate resignation based on what it called his numerous offensive and deeply inappropriate comments made across his social media. Now, how dare they? This is everything Reform is meant to stand against. Offence archaeology, cancelling people based on views despised by the establishment but supported by the general population. And let's just think about this. This guy, okay, he's now a Labour councillor, like, that's not a cool thing. But you want to cancel him and rule him out of politics forever because of a tweet 10 years ago? This insanity needs to stop. And by the way, what was the tweet in question? Well, the only one that I've seen was this. At EDL Tommy Robinson for Prime Minister, #make a difference. That's it. As Basil the Great surmised, this is awful from Reform, and they are inviting a backlash against their own councillors. How many of them, I wonder, have made a pro-Tommy Robinson post in the last 10 years? Carl Benjamin of Lotus Eaters added, absolutely pathetic. At this point, Tommy Robinson is a litmus test against the establishment. If they can't at least acknowledge that what he did was necessary and brave, then they are traitors who are covering their own backs when they hobnob with lefties. And Tommy himself has weighed in, writing, here's Reform UK showing their stance on free speech as they call for a lad to be sacked for a few posts a decade ago for supporting a man who was talking on the rape gangs and jihadist mindset. However, Tommy himself believes this is part of a bigger bid by Nigel Farage to banish him from polite society after his interventions against him while in solitary confinement. Can you believe that more than half of you are watching this video but not subscribed? So please do me a huge favour, click the subscribe button now, turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to all of our brand new Outspoken videos.
I don't get why he keeps attacking us.
Yeah. He could just not mention you, but he insists on throwing you under the bus every chance he gets.
Which is an establishment move.
Yeah.
That's an establishment move.
Yeah.
He's actually, when I was in prison, he done more to attack me and discredit me being able to get out than anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if maybe Nigel, I've never met him. Maybe he's bought into the media portrayal. He says the media are wrong about him. He should know they lie. Maybe he's bought into it. I still see him sitting there on ITV News, so I don't think he gets it.
You know what's odd to me is he was asked a couple of times about one of his financiers who had a conviction, a guy named George Cottrell. And there was another member, a former member of Parliament, I believe, who had a conviction.
No, not former member. One of his sitting MPs volleyed a woman in the head and went to jail.
Times today is carrying a story about one of your aides and colleagues, George Cottrell, who has a conviction for wire fraud in the America and has been named in another criminal investigation in Montenegro. Do you want him by your side on the campaign trail?
I firstly always stand by my friends. And secondly, there is a thing called Christian forgiveness. If people get convicted of something or do something wrong, well, they have another chance in life to go on and prove themselves.
Mr. Farage, thank you.
If in a country that believes in Christian forgiveness, he is not a good example to young tearaways, I don't know what it is. Do you believe in Christian forgiveness?
Everyone believes in redemption. Everyone should have second chances.
Is he not a very good example?
Nigel, that is not the question I'm asking.
Would you accept Robinson as a member of your party? UKIP over association with him last time.
You know, Robinson has been to prison many, many times for many, many things. Mortgage fraud, passport problems, you name it. He's got his own campaign. We're a political party aiming to win the next general election. He's not what we need.
Okay, so he was asked about both of those folks, and his response was, from when the newscaster asked him, does he still support them? His response was, they both deserve Christian forgiveness. Don't they deserve Christian forgiveness? When it comes to Tommy Robinson, and you ask him to say, what doesn't Tommy Robinson deserve Christian forgiveness?
He lists my criminal record, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
A pathetic little lawfare.
So no wonder with this going on, the Reform UK membership ticker keeps on ticking down. Do you see it there in the corner of the screen? 229,000. That is down over 5,000 at today's Robin Hood press conference announcing the launch of the new Britannia card, where Yusuf, of course, was front and centre, and new chairman and name only, Dr. David Bull, was nowhere to be seen. Now, why is it important that we start holding Reform to account? Well, as Dominic Cummings espoused over the weekend, it's because it is going to take a brave and bold leader and an even braver and bolder party, unafraid of mainstream sensibilities, to actually stop the invasion illegally of the UK via our southern border. But first, if you're anything like me, you've spent so much time trying to find the perfect skincare treatments for your face, only to realise you've been neglecting the skin on your neck. But as I've got older, I know that's a massive oversight, because the neck is on display all the time, yet lots of folk just treat it as an afterthought in their routine. And I know I'd fallen into that trap. And what's been interesting actually is since starting this campaign with Go Pure, I've spoken to many in our Outspoken audience, many women, who tell me that they know the skin on their neck is thinner, more delicate and less oily than facial skin, and they need specialised care, but they just don't know where to get it from. And so I have to say, that is why Go Pure is the answer. It is an absolutely beautiful product. This is the Go Pure Tighten and Lift Neck Cream, and it's transforming the lives and necks of women and some men too, all across the globe. So let me tell you about this gorgeous product, because I saw a noticeable difference within just weeks. Oh, and by the way, Outspoken viewers and listeners get 25% off Go Pure if you use the code DAN, that's D-A-N, at checkout today. So just head to gopure.com/Dan, use code DAN, and you're all set. But what's so amazing about Go Pure is that its proprietary firming complex is actually designed to visibly firm and smooth the skin on your neck and chest in as little as 4 to 8 weeks. In a consumer study, 100% of users said their skin looked more supple, 97% noticed a firmer appearance. Indeed, Go Pure's full line of science-backed skin and body care have delivered for over 100,000 real women with real results. It's dermatologist recommended, cruelty-free, plus with over 1 million jars sold, I don't think you can say this is a beauty secret anymore, right? Because it's not a secret, if you get what I'm saying. So, tighten, lift, and restore elasticity in your neck, because your skincare routine shouldn't stop at your jawline. And for that limited time, Outspoken viewers and listeners get 25% off GoPure using the code DAN, D-A-N, at checkout. Just head to gopure.com/Dan, use the code DAN, and you are all set. Quick favor too, after you buy, when they ask you where you heard about GoPure, make sure you tell them it was after watching Outspoken. But now, back to the show.
So what you have to do is you have to repeal the Human Rights Act. You have to state that you're withdrawing from the jurisdiction of the Strasbourg court, and you then deploy the Navy and you stop the boats. And you say, nobody is landing from any of these boats. Everybody from these boats that we pick up will get dropped on an island somewhere. No one will be coming to mainland Britain of any kind. The boats will be destroyed, and the people organising the boats are going to be put on a list for UK Special Forces to kill or capture, the way that we do with various terrorist organisations. As soon as you announce that that is your policy and take serious steps to do it, the boats stop straight away, because the people doing this are not ideological terrorists, right, who want to die and get into and fight about this. They're there to make money. So as soon as they realise, oh, an island nation is actually just going to stop these stupid boats, they're obviously going to send the people somewhere else.
So Dominic, can I just be clear? What you're saying for the boats is that special forces should be able to capture or kill the gang masters that are arranging for these dinghies.
Correct. If you actually are going to prioritise stopping it, which I think you should do, you can't have tens of thousands of people a year coming over on these stupid things and then stacked up in hotels for which we're paying billions of quid. Then they run around, a lot of them committing crimes, undermining any kind of public support for on immigration policy. It's an all-round farcical disaster that makes us look like a joke country.
And where we are at this moment in time, by the way, is that we are a joke country. Because Slippery Starmer is allowing a daily invasion of terrorists, rapists, drug dealers, and sex traffickers to continue at pace every single day. And we're also a joke country, by the way, because he's turned us, in a matter of months, into a laughingstock on the international stage, as his botched prediction to Sly News about Donald Trump's plan to bomb Iran proved in such a mortifying manner.
It sounds like an American attack could be imminent. Do you know what's going on?
Well, I don't think you should read into that an American attack is imminent.
He's calling the Security Council together.
We had a 2-hour discussion with the President last night on the Middle East, on this very issue. And as a result of that, the G7 statement came out very clear about the risk of the nuclear program in Iran, Israel's right to self-defense, and the need to de-escalate across the region, including in Gaza.
So you don't think an attack is in his mind, or US joining Israel? You don't think that's in his
the wording
mind?
of the G7 statement, I think, speaks for itself. And I sat next to the President for that 2-hour discussion as we were working through not just the issues, but the statement itself.
So you're not worried about escalation?
I'm clear that we need to de-escalate.
But are you worried about escalation?
Of course I'm worried about escalation, which is why my focus is on de-escalation. I'm worried.
But, and this is the big but, just because we are screwed under that blithering embarrassment Slippery Starmer doesn't mean we accept the horrific cancellation of patriotic Brits simply for supporting Tommy Robinson from a Reform Party that claims to be on the side of the people. Now, the Superstar panel. Stephen Woolfe, Will Coleshill, great to have you both here. Stephen, what do you make of this bid by Reform UK to get this Labour councillor booted from politics altogether? I mean, he's not even a member of the Reform Party for these tweets 10 years ago supporting Tommy Robinson.
Well, I think first and foremost, it shows that Nigel Farage is now nothing more than a slippery, performative politician seeking power. And the way that he wants to do this is by chivying himself up alongside all of those and the elites that have been able to do so in the past. I mean, after all, why would you destroy your own credibility as being the individual that is opposed to cancel culture. And if you remember how when Nigel went to an event in Brussels, I think it was Popular Conservatives out there, and he was almost stopped from going in and speaking. He wrote a damning letter to the European Commission about how you should not allow the kind of idea of cancel culture from even infecting politics. People should be allowed to say and speak and do whatever they want. And in the very moment that he makes this declaration that you should cancel anyone that supports Tommy Robinson, anyone that says a good thing about Tommy Robinson, and it's a good job I won't be ever going into reform, because I think Tommy Robinson was one of the heroes of raising the issue about grooming gangs in this country, when the elites in this country just were scoffing at him for being a white working class boy. And so therefore, he has destroyed his own credibility. And I think it goes deeper to what you said about George Cottrell, who I've met, perfectly nice guy. When I've met him, never had any harsh words with him. But his mum, Fiona Cottrell, donated £500,000 to Nigel Farage's political party in the run-up to last year's election. It's said that she dated King Charles when she was younger. And that points to something about Nigel himself. Ever since he's been at school in Dulwich, he's wanted to be part of the establishment. He feels that he is right to be there. A member of the House of Lords allegedly is this deal with that was raised with Boris Johnson to stand down the Brexit candidates and allow Boris to win. And what we're seeing with Nigel is attacking the white working class, attacking the working class, attacking anyone that supports the idea of somebody potentially leading the working class. And as a result of that, he is now being the establishment's fool in a hope that he can become prime minister and work alongside those very elitists that he has claimed to have attacked and said that we should be changing Britain by ignoring them and having a different public and different policies and different governments and different parties that no longer support that level of establishment. He is part of it. He wants to be it. And this language shows exactly where reform are.
Yeah, which is really worrying, actually, really, really worrying. Will Coleshill, founder and editor of the brilliant independent news service Resistance GB. Great to have you on Outspoken for the first time today. What do you make of what Reform are doing around this? Because I could only find this one tweet from this guy, but actually, you know what? I don't give a damn what this guy posted 10 years ago on Twitter. I do not give a damn, and neither should Reform UK.
Well, it's quite funny how Reform only seems to attack to the left, but not to the right. Or, sorry, it only attacks the right, but not the left. They'll go after all of the Tommy Robinsons, they'll go after all of the UKIP people, but they're happy to take someone who comes from the Labour Party, bring them in and make them their chief whip. I mean, isn't that quite interesting, considering the Labour Party pursues an actual racist agenda where they discriminate against white people, where they want to, push for greater female representation through quotas? I think it's quite strange that Reform has one policy for the establishment, but another for all of the people, all of the dissidents. And you see a sort of trail of bodies behind Nigel Farage. You see people like Catherine Blakelock, Howard Cox. You see Stephen, who's absolutely fantastic. You see David Curtin. You've got fantastic people who should be being brought into the fold, because we've got a massive deep state in this country. They control all of the institutions, and he needs to be building a team for 2029. But instead, he's going after people for being, an inch to the right of him, 2 inches to the right of him, whilst he'll happily pander to the mainstream media. He'll happily go on the BBC or Channel 4 or ITV, the people who stitch him up. And it's quite funny that when I was outside Tommy Robinson's case, was it a week or two ago?
Yes.
He specifically pushed the mainstream media to the side and spoke to the alternative media, because he's got a vision of building a free media ecosystem, a truly free and independent press. So what you're doing, what we try and do, what Stephen's doing in the Lotus Eaters. But Nigel Farage doesn't have that vision. So it's very strange.
He's
And
an
it's
old
people
media
like Tommy.
guy, isn't he, Stephen? That's one of the issues with Nigel Farage. He still genuinely think it matters to be on like the Today programme at 8, 10 a.m. and speak to the establishment. But actually, even more shocking, he still thinks it matters like what the Daily Express say about you. And by the way, no offence, there's some great people at the Daily Express, but it's an irrelevance which is just not even going to exist very soon.
Yeah, well, and that's because the advisors that you have to Nigel Farage, and many of them are of the old conservative, traditional conservatives, as he sees himself, are people who still believe that there's a lot of votes to be made by being on BBC and ITV and Sky News, and actually being in the newspapers, because the elderly population are still deemed to be watching that. And yet he fails to understand that a lot of those people now are actually also tuning in to Facebook, not necessarily on TikTok, but some of them picking up Instagram, some of people beginning to get onto X, and they too are having conversations with their children and their grandchildren who actually understand that there is a broader spectrum out there of new people talking about things like your show, like what Will is doing. And by the way, Will, thanks very much for bigging me up there. I appreciate it. The $5 in the post. But the main point about it is that we have a political animal there who's losing, I'm afraid to say, in many ways, losing his marbles, because this is a nonsensical story. Why would you go anywhere near it? As you pointed out, this is a 10-year-old tweet. Why raise the issue to go and be seen now as Mr. Cancel Culture over this political point? And that is either because someone has suggested, one, he needs to run scared of Tommy Robinson and any movement that includes him that would defeat him in the next 3 or 4 years, or because he's being told by his advisors, stick close to the establishment, because if things go wrong for you, at least you've attacked Tommy Robinson and we can see you as one of our own.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.